The desert evening sagged heavy over Red Gulch, the heat still rising from the cracked earth like the last breaths of a dying beast. Eliza Caldwell stood bound beneath the twisted limbs of the Hangman's Tree, her torn blue dress clinging to her bruised arms, the rope biting so deep into her wrists she could no longer feel her hands. The townsfolk shouted for justice, for blood, for a spectacle to make the long night worth remembering. Her hair, once neat as a Sunday morning prayer, now hung wild around her face, streaked with dust and dried tears. She swallowed hard, tasting copper and grit, wondering how a lifetime of trying to be good could end in a place where goodness meant nothing at all. Marshal Harlan Kane had been the closest thing she ever had to a father after her real one rode off when she was 6. Kane had taught her to read, to shoot straight, to stand tall. He raised her with a strict hand, but a warm heart, and she never once questioned whether he cared. That was why the accusation struck the town like a lightning bolt. Eliza Caldwell, the marshal's own ward, accused of shooting him dead behind the livery stable and leaving his body in the dust. No witnesses, no chance for her to explain. Only the town's decision to make an example of her, as if punishing her could wipe the stain of murder off their frontier souls. Night crept closer, the sky bruising purple, and Eliza's breathing grew shallow. She heard the laughter of men who had once tipped their hats to her. She heard women whisper about how evil could hide behind a pretty face. She heard children yanking on their mothers' skirts, asking if the hanging would be before breakfast. She pulled her gaze up to the noose dangling overhead, swaying gently in the warm, desert breeze. Dawn felt both impossibly far and terrifyingly close. A deputy shoved her forward once, just to remind her she had nowhere to go. She didn't flinch. Fear had burned itself out hours ago, leaving only a hollow resignation. She told them again she didn't kill him. They told her lies didn't matter when a man like Harlan Kane was dead. Tonight, the saloon was full, the gallows was ready, and the town already had its mind made up. The ground trembled before the sound reached them. At first a faint rhythm, then a pounding like cannon fire, until the dust cloud rose on the horizon. Horses didn't run like that unless chased, or unless they were bringing trouble. A shout cut through the murmurs. "Rider coming fast!" Men reached for their guns, but by the time hands clasped iron, the stallion burst into view, black as midnight and flecked with sweat. The rider sat high, coat fluttering behind him, hat pulled low. Captain Jack Revolver Thorne. His reputation arrived before he did, carried by stories of shootouts, jailbreaks, and a silver tongue that could charm the venom off a rattlesnake. Outlaw to some, hero to others. Devil to most. He didn't slow as he reached the square. His Colt barked twice, sending bullets cracking into the air. The crowd scattered, screams rising like dust devils. Eliza flinched but didn't move otherwise. She had known Jack Thorne once. Long ago, when he and the marshal had ridden together before life turned them into enemies. Thorne yanked the reins, bringing the stallion to a sliding halt so close she smelled the sweat of the animal and the gunpowder clinging to his coat. His eyes were sharp, cold, assessing her restraints as if calculating a way to cut her free before the town could draw a breath. "What in hell have they done to you, Eliza?" he murmured, voice low, almost tender. A deputy stepped forward, gun shaking in his hand. "Get off that horse, Thorne. Ain't your business." Jack didn't even look at him. "Everything in this damn town is my business." Eliza wanted to tell him to leave, to run, to stop making everything worse, but her voice caught in her throat. Jack finally turned to the crowd, raising his voice. "You fools really think this girl shot Harlan Kane?" He swept his gaze across the faces, angry men, fearful women, a preacher clutching his Bible so tight his knuckles bleached white. "You think she could kill the man who treated her better than any of you ever did?" The cattle baron, Silas Granger, stepped forward from the edge of the crowd, his wide-brimmed hat casting his eyes in shadow. He was wealthy enough to buy the law and ruthless enough to silence anyone who questioned him. "We got proof," he said, voice dripping with false conviction. "She was found with the marshal's blood on her dress." Jack smirked. "Blood on clothes ain't proof. Not in a land where half you bastards wake up with blood on your shirts from brawls, cattle fights, or drunk benders." Granger's jaw twitched. Marshal Kane had enemies, but she was the only one near his body. She was put there, Jack shot back. Eliza's head jerked slightly. Put there? By who? Why? Granger folded his arms. You gonna claim you know who killed him? I might, Jack said, leaning slightly in the saddle. Might know the real reason the marshal died. Might even know the man who paid Eliza's father to vanish back in 78. A ripple tore through the crowd. Eliza's breath hitched. My father... Her voice came out cracked, barely a whisper. You know where he is? Jack's eyes softened. I know what happened to him, and I know who wanted people to think you inherited his sins. The gunshot came fast, so fast Jack barely had time to move. He shifted in the saddle, the bullet grazing his coat as he fired back. The square erupted into chaos. Men ducked. Women screamed. More shots cracked like thunder, dust flying in vicious bursts around the Hangman's Tree. Cut her loose! Jack yelled, kicking the deputy aside and sliding from his horse. He used his knife to slice through the rope, binding her wrists. Her arms fell forward, numb and useless, but freedom sent a surge of life into her chest. She stumbled. Jack caught her. Can you ride? I think so. Another bullet whined past. Jack pulled her toward the horse, but Granger's men closed in. The crowd had split into two, those who wanted the truth and those who wanted a hanging. Eliza, someone shouted. Old Mrs. Whitlow from the bakery. Tell us, did you kill him? Eliza turned, heart pounding. No, I loved him. He was the only family I had. Jack pushed her toward the saddle. Granger framed you. Kane found out he was stealing land deeds, forcing small ranchers out, blackmailing your father into leaving you behind. Kane confronted him. Granger shot him himself. Gasps shook the square. That's a lie, Granger spat, but his voice trembled. Jack raised his gun. Then let's let the girl speak, and let the truth hang instead of her. The townsfolk wavered. Doubt spread. Murmurs built. A few men lowered their guns. One of Granger's own ranch hands stepped back, shaking his head. Granger made a desperate move for his pistol. Eliza acted first. Her hand dove for Jack's spare revolver at his hip. She fired a warning shot into the dirt at Granger's feet. Her wrists shook, but her aim was true. No more lies, she said, voice steady. No more running. The spell broke. Deputies swarmed Granger. Townsfolk pinned his arms. Someone tore the pistol from his grip. Within seconds, the cattle baron who ruled Red Gulch with money and threats was dragged to the same tree meant for Eliza. Jack helped her onto the horse. She trembled, but she sat tall. You ready to leave this place? He asked. Eliza looked at the frightened crowd, the dying light, the noose swaying in the wind. Then she looked at Jack, outlaw, troublemaker, savior she never asked for but desperately needed. Yes, she whispered. Let's ride. And beneath the burning Arizona sky, as Granger screamed justice was a joke, Jack Thorne and Eliza Caldwell galloped out of Red Gulch, leaving behind the Hangman's Tree, the lies that almost killed her, and the life she no longer owed to anyone but herself.